What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I wanted to put this in the beginning. Of course, we are coming to you live from Gotham Production Studios, which is our home here for X Drinking Buddy. Remember to subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/Brennan Tassif. You can also follow on social media at X Drinking Buddy on Instagram, Twitter, and follow me at Brennan T Comedy on all social media. Check out BrennanTComedy.com for the upcoming shows. And don't forget to get your X Drinking Buddy merch. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Boom. That's it. Easy peasy.
Grab me a beer and grab him a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brennan T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brennan Tassif is your ex drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex drinking buddy.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your X Drinking Buddy. I am your host, Brennan. There's going to be something there. I am your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the program, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite thing to do. Hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and then reminisce about those crazy stories. I am sober now, but it's still one of my favorite things to do. Hang out with someone and reminisce about the crazy old days. Most weeks I'll be joined by a guest. This week is no exception. All the way from New York City, Zac Gish.
Hey,
What's up, dude?
Wasabi.
We've been wanting to have you on, man.
I've been
The prodigal son has returned.
yeah, I've been wanting to be had on. So
Yeah, man.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get too far into anything, plug everything up front to the listeners. Let them know where they can find you, your social media.
Cool.
This will come out in a few weeks, so any dates you got coming up in May.
Cool. Awesome. You guys can find me at Zac Gish on Instagram, ZACGISH. I also have a podcast called with Zac Gish. Like you're trying to think of the word, so that's UHHH with
Three
Zac
H's.
Gish. Yeah, 3 H's. That's on Instagram, YouTube, and we're trying to get it on other platforms. At the end of May, I'll be in Arizona, May 31st, June 1st, Arizona with my boy Eric Newman.
Hell yeah.
And then also June 7th, co-headlining with Sarah Huntington at Grove 34 out in Queens.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
We just had Scott Hall on.
Yeah, Scott Hall is the club owner of Grove 34.
Yeah, we did a two-parter with him because Scott has been through some shit. So
Bro.
we did one, and then I had my buddy Matt Fulstron on when he was in town, and then Scott did a second one because literally we got through the whole hour, and then he was like, yeah, and then I went to jail, and that really kind of saved my life. And I was like, wait, whoa. I was like, what are you talking about? Because the hour was up, so I was like, he has to come back on. But yeah, we talked a lot about Grove 34. They're really starting to corner the market out there in Queens.
Yeah, they're doing exactly what all the small clubs when they first start,
Yeah.
like the community around the club, the open mic nights, the tight fives.
Yeah, it's been really cool too because like List goes there a lot, obviously, because he lives around the corner from there, and so it's so cool to see like I went on their website the other day because Tracy, my girlfriend, who I'm contractually obligated to mention in every podcast, she lives like 2 blocks away from there.
Oh, no way.
So like she was like, oh well, why don't we start going to more shows like around here? And so we looked up the lineup and I was like, this is great. Like I know a lot of these people, and then the other thing is like, oh, some of these shows are already like Joe's there at the end of the month and it's already sold out. I'm like, this is fucking awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like they're making it happen.
They're making it happen, and Scott Hall, I trust.
Oh yeah, so
Foley.
much, 100%.
Foley. Yeah, I mean, a lot of cool people pop into Grove 34. Like Shane's done it before.
Oh yeah.
I think Mark Norman's wife just filmed a special there.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Damn, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about you.
Okay.
What's your podcast about?
My podcast is just me trying to find
I
my
had a feeling.
podcast voice. And it's like I started
With
comedy.
the title of the podcast, I had a feeling.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't try to put really any constraints on it. Sometimes I'll have guests. Sometimes I'll do it solo. I've had an animal on before, a duck.
Really?
He has like 4 million followers on Instagram. So I ran into him on the street, and his handler named Hugh is a really cool dude. And so they both came onto my podcast, and they're like my first episode.
Wow, that's nuts.
It's like his famous duck. And like that's kind of, I don't know, the content I want to try to provide for my audience is like, it's not going to be a traditional sit down and it's going to be, every week's going to be something different.
And that's smart too, because sometimes, like, I have stories that I tell on here where literally my girlfriend, who's incredibly supportive, is like, you got to stop telling that story.
Yeah.
So it's good to do something, because it's the theme of the show. We talk about like crazy drinking, drug, partying, getting in trouble stories, and you only have so many.
Yeah.
So like when the guest comes on, it's new for them, but then I'm like, you know, I want to compare notes. So I'm like, oh, this one time this, and my girlfriend's like, stop telling the second DUI story, how you were in a parking lot. We get it. You weren't driving your car. So it is cool to have like that sort of setup where you're like, yeah, I'll just do something different every single week. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, that is kind of that. And to your point about finding your podcast voice, I didn't realize this till I started working with Drew, because he's never had a podcast, and I'm helping produce his. And it's so weird because I've been doing this for so long. And at one point I had 3 podcasts, and like I talk into microphones so often.
Yeah.
It's become like leading the conversation and like hosting almost has become second nature for me.
Yeah.
That I do it in real life, to the point where I'll just be talking to like a guest at the restaurant, and I'll be like, oh my God, then what happened? Then what? They're like, this guy is so interested in me.
Yeah.
But for people who are just starting podcasts, it's weird because you're like, just do this. And they're like, I've never done this, but like, I don't know what you're talking about. So that's a super smart thing to be like, I'm just going to do this to find my podcasting, because it's like, oh yeah, then you're going to like have it.
Yeah. Because then once you have it and you know your comfortability,
yeah,
with
exactly,
your what you want to talk about, then you can bring in whoever, and then they can hop on board. So I just took the same approach with podcasts as I did with comedy.
That's smart.
I'll do it, and then I'll find my way as I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's any.
You'll figure the way out of the forest. You'll
Exactly.
get there. Yeah. Just keep walking in a direction.
Yeah. Like, a new thing I do is I always play like music that I like I just discovered, or like I'll tell a story, and then like that story will lead into and then this guy showed me this song, and it's like, I don't know, I think music helps connect people.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah. And
like,
it does.
If someone sees a clip online of me like jamming out to a song, and I'm like, I listen to this when I'm cooking breakfast in the morning, and they like that song, I feel like they might be more inclined to maybe watch my podcast, because it's like, oh, we already have the same
same thing
taste.
in common. Yeah. It's interesting. I like the fact that you're doing it like that, because so often, whether it's comedy or anything else, people will use controversy to spur that kind of interaction. Exactly what you're talking about. But instead of music, they'll be like, don't you fucking hate the snowflake, blah, blah, blah. And then other people are like, yeah, we hate them. We like this guy. And it's so negative.
It's very negative.
To do it the way you're like, yeah, I like this song. Do you guys like this song? Like, who else likes this song? Like, that's so nice and sweet. It's very much like a great break from the whole like, yeah, fuck them. No, fuck them.
Yeah, man, there's too many of those.
I know, there is.
And it's like everyone's trying to copy each other, and I feel like with the social media, everyone wants to be the first one to say it. And it's like, just because you have an opinion on it
doesn't mean you have to share it.
Yeah. Exactly. Don't you like music? Don't you like to dance? Don't you like to dance?
Who doesn't like to dance? Well, let's talk about you, Zach. So,
all right, man.
Because you are a sweet boy. You are a young boy.
I am.
I want to ask you, because I like having people on, especially different generations. Because I'm, going on 36. You're still in your early 20s, and it's interesting because I met you when I first moved to New York. So you had only like kind of just started getting into comedy.
Yeah.
Because how long have you been doing comedy now?
Now it's like 4.5 years.
Yeah, so you were like a year and a half in when I first met you.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So because I tell, and again, this is one of those stories, I say it all the time, but to relate to you, I found comedy way back in the day when I was 12 years old, and this is back when Friday night you would watch Comedy Central Presents.
Okay.
This is when it was a thing. Comedy Central has kind of died on the vine since then. But back when Comedy Central still showed comedy, like when MTV still had music, every Friday we would watch that. And I loved comedy stand-up so much I would record it on VHS and just watch it over and over and over. Okay. Obviously, you came up in the internet generation. You had YouTube and Spotify and all this stuff. But with how niche comedy is, stand-up comedy in general, how did you even find it?
So you know what a red box is?
Yes.
So I remember I was like 13 and I was sleeping over at my friend's house, and their mom had rented a bunch of movies from the red box, and we,
shit, I know what a Blockbuster is. Of course I know what a red box is.
Yeah, red box is the new thing, but now it's dead even. Yeah. So to our point of technology. But yeah, she got a bunch of movies. I remember everyone kind of falling asleep, and I was looking through the Redbox like DVDs, and there was a Kevin Hart Netflix special, and I had never seen comedy in my life.
That's nuts. And I know the special you're talking about. That was one of the first big ones.
It was one. It was
the Say It With Your Chest one.
Yeah.
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 God, for that to be your introduction to stand up.
Yeah.
So what'd you do? You just threw it on the DVD player, and you're like, "Oh, this is fucking awesome."
Yeah, I was just like hypnotized, and I remember the TV was huge, and all my friends are like sleeping in this dark room, and I am the one that's awake at 3:30 in the morning laughing at this TV while all my friends are sleeping.
Yeah.
So I kind of had like this weird, like, oh, I like that. I like watching that a lot.
Yeah.
And then I started watching YouTube videos of actors, comedians, like mainly Jim Carrey.
Okay.
A lot of him. And he like had this saying of like, kind of like the general thinking, not a saying, but like if you wanted to get into acting, like comedy was like almost like a gateway drug to it.
I say it all the time, even to this day, the barrier to entry into show business in general, the easiest way to do it is stand up.
Yeah.
Because you can just go to open mics. Now all of a sudden you're in it.
Yeah.
Like you go to 3, like I changed all my social media stuff after 2 open mics. In 2009, I went to 2 open mics, and I was like, oh, I'm a comic now.
Yeah.
So I changed everything to Brennan T. Comedy.
Yeah.
I even did the Facebook, like, employer stand-up,
Yeah.
which is so fucking hack. But I even did that. And I went to 2 open mics. The barrier to entry into show business, the easiest way, the quickest way is through stand-up.
Yeah.
And I know that's Jim's point. And I also like the thing that he says where he goes, a lot of people say you should play it safe. He goes, well, my dad did play it safe. And then he got laid off when he was 54, and we were all basically fucked. I mean, he doesn't say that, but that's basically his point.
Yeah.
He's like, so what do you get out of playing it safe?
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
So you find that.
So I find him, and then I remember
Where are you living at the time?
in Indiana.
Okay.
My parents had just gotten divorced.
Okay.
So I was like
Great for material.
at school, like watching YouTube videos. The teachers are teaching lessons, and I'm listening to Jim Carrey.
And what
like,
year is this?
I am like, this is 2016, 17.
Damn.
Yeah.
Such a young pup.
Yeah. So I started writing when I was like 16.
Yeah.
And it took me like 6 months to be like, all right, let me just go to this club. I called up Crackers Comedy Club in Indiana.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not 21. I could bring 40
I'm
people.
not 18.
Yeah, I'm not 18 yet either. But I could bring 40 people to an open mic if you let me get up. And they're like 100%.
Yeah, clubs don't. The clubs are just like, 40 people?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I told everyone I knew. 80 people showed up.
Damn.
And
Are you serious? 80 people showed up for your first open mic?
yeah, it was like the worst thing ever,
Yeah, it's terrible. You can get no
like,
gauge.
Yeah, it's like it's all delusion. It's all
Yeah.
your friends,
And
and
so
then
are you still 16 at this point, or are you 17 by now?
okay, so I guess I just turned 17.
Okay.
17. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And
Yeah, because you said you started writing around 16, and then about 6 months after that, you had your.
Yeah,
you were
because
like,
I
"Let's do
just
it." Yeah.
turned. I just turned 17. Whoa, that's crazy. I remember I wore a hat. I wore a rainbow shirt. I don't know what the fuck I was doing, but
So you go up, and obviously you crush because there's 80 people there.
yeah, I mean, I remember having this joke about like I texted my mom and I was like, "What's for dinner?" And she was like, "Your dad's eggplant emoji," and my punchline was like, "My parents are divorced, so I didn't know whose dad's dick I was going to be eating."
Oh!
Exactly. And
so stupid.
it's so stupid. And, like,
You're such a profound person too. Like we're outside talking, and like you have genuine, even for your age, like you have genuine, interesting, and like heartfelt opinions about stuff. And you're like, yeah, who's dick?
yeah. So, that was like the trial and error when you're first going up there. And
So were you hooked instantly? Were you like, oh, I'm doing this?
I remember getting off and being like, I know my family has problems with addiction.
Yeah.
And this is not good for that,
Yeah.
And So I went to an open mic a couple of weeks later where I told nobody, learned I was terrible at it, and then had the
That's my favorite.
had the 80-person killer open mic drug side of it
Yeah.
of like, I always want to get back.
Yeah.
And then you snowball from there.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, it's sick. It's interesting when people ask, like, how did you know, like, this is what you wanted to do? Like, you know, when you ask anybody that.
Yeah.
But when it comes, especially when it comes to the art, because it's like, yeah, most of us all have other jobs. Most of us are working our asses off to make it in something that's incredibly hard and incredibly competitive.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I could just use my degree to go get an office job, but it's like, I'm not doing, like, and I know exactly when that point was.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy to have that, like, moment when you're like, oh no, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And so, like, for you get off stage after bombing at the second open mic, but you're like, but I know what it can be.
Yeah.
And I want that so bad.
Yeah.
There's no better feeling. I've said it before, but I had my going away show in Jacksonville before I moved to New York, and like everyone came. All my friends came. It was like a big deal. And I remember this was only the second time this has ever happened. I remember getting onto the stage, and it's a very tight room. It only fits like 40 people, and like 70 people were there. And I remember getting on stage, and the stage was like shaking. And I was like,
oh, bro.
Let's fucking,
Yeah.
and everything you even say just hits.
Yeah.
Hits. And you're like, let's fucking go, man.
Yeah.
I've only ever had that. I had it at that same bar once before, but I've only ever had that like twice in New York. And I've been here for like 3.5 years. But you know, shows are, a lot of times you'll do well, but you're like, that was good. But for us, a lot of times we're like, good is not what we want. We want great.
Yeah.
And I've had that happen twice in New York. Thank God one of them I got filmed on 4K. That's what I send out every festival and everything.
Yeah.
It's just boom, boom. And you're like, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can do this.
Yeah.
We can do this.
And then, you get to learn like through time that a lot of times where you do well early in comedy are because the audience is set up to do well.
Yeah.
You know? And then you like, I got the challenge of opening up for Eric Newman.
Yeah.
And
before, I don't want to jump too far ahead. So you do the mic.
Okay, so do the mic.
And then you do the second mic. And then what happens? How do you get from Indiana to New York?
Okay, so I'm always writing from that moment on.
Yeah.
I'm also a college football player.
You played college football?
So I got
Get
a
the fuck out of
scholarship.
here.
Yeah,
I played college football.
No way?
Yeah.
What position?
I played fullback. What position?
Oh, I play wide receiver. We should kiss.
Where did you play?
I play at St. Xavier University.
Okay.
Yeah, and I hated it.
Is that a smaller school?
Yeah, it was like 4,000 people.
Okay.
But it was NAIA.
Yeah.
So we would play some D2s.
That's
some
non-affiliated for those of you who are listening.
And so like it was weird being a
So you got
jock.
a full ride to go.
Not a full ride, but
Well, yeah, NAI schools, they do it. It's like grants and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they do academic and athletic. So I did really good on my SATs, so that covered a lot. And then
What did you get on your SATs?
The SAT 1350.
Damn,
Or
my man's
13?
smart.
13. Well, I was on Adderall the whole time.
Let's fucking go. It doesn't matter.
The SAT
Adderall
tutor.
doesn't change your brain. It just enhances it.
That's true. So, I had a really good tutor. Shout out Moxie.
What up, Moxie?
I actually wanted to write a weird pilot because I felt like the SAT tutor is such because he taught me how to hack the test.
Oh.
He didn't teach me how to do it better.
Yeah.
He was just like, all right, on the math section, start with question 7, 8, 9. That will gain your confidence. Go back to the beginning because he knew how they would make the questions hard.
Wow. So it was
easy.
more of a technical thing, not like learn the material. It was more like this is how you hack the system.
Yeah.
Dude, that's fucking smart.
So when he kind of sat down and taught me all of his little tricks, I was like, dude.
Oh, this is going to be easy.
Yeah, this is such...
And not to mention now you have more confidence because you know the tricks.
Right.
So that just compounds how well you're going to do.
Yeah. So I don't know. I loved I loved my parents introducing me to a tutor that was not read these words and tell me what they mean.
He's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. He's like, let me tell you how this is going to work, all right? Zach, we're going to hack this fucking system. It's all broken anyway. I'm going to tell you.
You walk in there.
You fucking walk in there, you grab your balls, and you go, SAT, you ain't shit.
Exactly.
So then you end up going to college. You play football.
Yeah.
You're a smart kid. And then what? Are you still doing mics while you're in college? You're writing all the time? Like, how's that working?
So I go to Chicago,
Okay.
and I'm living on the south side, so I would have two.
Oh, is this while you're in college? Is your school in Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm living on the south side doing 2-a-days, and at the end of my second practice, I would then go to an open mic. I would drive my car to the city.
Okay.
So my days were just full. It would be practice, then school, then practice, then open mic.
Yeah.
And then on top of all of that, I was selling drugs as well.
Fuck yeah, man.
So I was just trying to
What were you selling? Pot?
I was selling
Adderall.
pot, Adderall, and also a lot of mushrooms. Okay. Mainly mushrooms. Like my campus, that was just like if you needed mushrooms.
Where were you getting mushrooms from? You don't have to out anybody, but was it a person? Was it a source? Was it?
Yeah, it was a person that definitely had
The reason I ask is because growing up in the South, like I grew up in Florida, and northern Florida, northeast Florida, like where I'm at, there is metropolis areas, but then there's also a shit ton of farmland.
Okay.
So kids would just go into these cow pastures and just pick mushrooms from the cow shit.
And would they trip?
Oh, yeah, that's where they come from. It's from shit.
Well, dude, I don't know. I would always be scared if
That's why they taste like shit. They're
I know.
grown in shit.
But I don't know if I trust myself in nature. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes I would.
Even if someone else just picks it and then gives it to you later,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I'm that same way, though, where I'm like, oh, they wouldn't lie to me.
No, they would never lie to me.
But if I went and got it myself, I'd be like, I'm going to fuck this up.
Let me read a book to see if this is the right shade
Yeah.
on the mushroom to
Let
make
me
sure
take
I
a picture and Google it.
don't die or anything.
Damn, so you were selling drugs. Was that something you were doing in high school, or did you just kind of discover that in college?
I was doing that early in high school, but when I got arrested, I wanted to put that aside.
Okay, let's talk about that.
All right. I got arrested.
That's not even on your list.
I know. But that
I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. But
we can. It was like the second time I got arrested, and I was driving, and me and my buddies had just picked up a zip from Lawrence, which was like a city that was kind of closer to Indianapolis.
Yeah. So how old are you at this point? Sophomore in high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you go out, you get the stuff, and then on your way back, you get pulled over?
Yeah, we're so stupid. We're in Indiana. Weed is like the devil.
Yeah, it's super
We're
illegal.
smoking a backwood with the windows down, just rolling, just like higher than life. You know, we just picked up all the weed in the world. Who can fuck with us?
And then whoop, whoop,
Whoop, whoop.
that guy can fuck with you.
He can fuck with us.
Pretty big time.
Yeah.
So you said this was the second time. Was the first time for weed as well?
The first time was for criminal mischief, theft, burglary, and
So you were kids breaking into houses.
the golf cart bandits.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So this brings us to our first story. We'll get back to the comedy thing, but this is fun. I like it when they intertwine.
Yeah.
So you sent me a list. We talked about it, and on the list, the very first thing you said was golf cart bandits.
Yeah.
And so this is your first arrest. So this is perfect. So what happens? Set the scene. How old are you? Where are you? Are your parents are still together at this point?
They're on the outs.
Okay.
And it's fresh.
Yeah.
I'm 12.
Okay. Fucking 12.
I'm 7th grade going into 8th grade summer.
Yeah.
There's this big thing called the Seton Fest every year where all the kids would go to the Ferris wheel, the fresh lemon squeezes, the big lights, and it'd be amazing, right?
So it's like a fair.
Yeah, it's a fair. It's a small fair. And next to it was this quarry.
And this is in Indiana?
In Indiana.
Okay.
Small town Indiana. Right next to it was this quarry.
Pawnee, Indiana.
Yeah.
We've all seen, what is that show?
The Middle?
No. I can't believe I'm not remembering the show. Oh, Parks and Rec.
Oh. Dude. I love that show so much.
Yeah,
I can't believe
it's
it.
in Indiana. That's you. Small town Indiana.
Small town Indiana, man. So, quarry. We all sneak from the festival and we go to this quarry. And then
Who's we all? You and just a couple of friends? Is there a big group of you?
Yeah, there's like 10 other kids my age. And
you
then
always go to the extremes with stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we got like all the girls that we like. They're also coming with us.
Yeah,
We're doing
13-year-old
bad
love,
stuff,
baby, 12-year-old love.
So we're skinny dipping, jumping off the
Damn,
cliffs.
at 12?
Yeah, man. Fuck. We're in the quarries, man. We're doing the thing. It legit looks like a movie scene, you know? It's night. We shouldn't be there. It feels bad. This one dude named Reese Hicks goes, yo, I hit a golf cart in the bushes. He lived on this golf course, and he was like, someone just left a golf cart unattended. So I took it and I hit it. Do you guys want to go,
drive it? Yeah.
Yeah. And we're like, hell yeah. So we go from that quarry, and we, they do the little joy ride with the one cart, and we're like, man, that was so fun. And the next night, we're thinking, you getting in because you want to take the mile.
Yeah.
So we start thinking, can we break into the garage? And my buddy, he saw that there was a vent on top of the garage, and he was like, if the bolts aren't bolted, then we can just lift up the vent and we drop down. So it was like a 15-foot drop once you open up the lift.
So you go to this house. Is this the same like neighbor that Reese took the original golf cart from, or is this just like a random house?
Yeah, so the house that we had to sneak out of to get to the golf course was just like one of my buddy's house.
Okay, so you're at the house, and then you sneak out of the house, you go to the golf course.
The next night after we've already seen
You've
the golf.
hatched the plan. Yeah, you know what's going on.
So my buddy, sure enough, there's no bolts on the vent. Opens it, drops down. He's like, no way. And he hits the garage door, and all you see is just like 50 green lights, just like fully charged golf carts, just like.
Is this for the course?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you broke into the course, like the actual clubhouse area.
The clubhouse area. And
damn, I thought this was somebody's house and you were taking a golf cart.
No.
You went to the source.
We went to the actual course.
My man is like, hey, let's get all of them.
Yeah, exactly. So, everyone takes a golf cart.
Of course, why wouldn't you?
We're taking, do you know in the sand things?
Yeah.
We're taking them off and chucking them at each other as we're like driving
the fillers
by.
for the sand traps and
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah,
we would put rocks on the pedal. We'd all get on one golf cart, and then as it's about to go into the lake, we'd jump off and ghost ride it into the lake.
Yeah.
Go over flagpoles, take pictures on top of them. Yeah, look at us. I think we even went extra and we smashed one of the security cameras because we just thought we were
you thought you were little badasses.
we're getting away with it. And
did you get away with it?
we put it on our Snapchat story.
Of course you did.
And
Because you're 12.
and our buddy, whose dad was a cop, took his phone because he was doing some shit.
He was in trouble. Yeah.
So his dad takes his phone, looks at Snapchat, sees a bunch of kids fucking up a golf course. He goes into work the next day. Police report says, all right, we got a golf course that is just vandalized.
Yeah, you destroyed everything. Yeah.
And so he showed up at our doors and was like, I know you guys did this. It's going to look better if you guys go and tell them that you guys did it.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it by the end of blah, 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 I'll tell them that you did it.
So you ended up going and turning yourselves in?
We turned ourselves in.
Damn, all because this guy's dad had his phone.
The Snapchat.
You
bro.
would have gotten away with it had that not happened.
100%.
That because you're over there smashing fucking security cameras.
Dude.
You're Jason Bourne in this
Bro,
shit.
dude, we had covered all the bases.
Hey, no bolts on the vent.
No bolts.
You basically are asking us to take them.
That's what I'm saying, man. So,
Damn. So what ended up happening? Because at that age, I'm assuming the penalty isn't super harsh.
Ultimately, a slap on the wrist.
Okay.
30 or.
Gotta love being white in Indiana.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
The way you tiptoed around that was so funny.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave.
If you're listening to the audio, go check out the video where Zach's face where he goes, "Thank you." So you get a slap on the wrist.
We get a slap on the wrist. They make us do community service, and I thought that was also a funny part because when you're doing community service, you're just meeting other delinquents.
Oh, yeah.
In the city that are also there. So we met this dude that had counterfeit money. We met this dude that sold lean. We met all these different dudes we would have never met.
Yep.
Just because of
that happens in jail. It's like going to a trade school. When I was locked up for the longest period, which was 4.5 months, you meet so many people where they're like, oh, well, do it like this, not like that, or next time do it this way, not that way, and you're like, oh, this is an education. This is a good way to figure out because everyone who's in there has obviously gotten caught, and sometimes it's not for things that are their quote unquote trade.
Yeah.
There are some people who are thieves that got caught because they got drunk and screamed at their girlfriend. So then they got arrested, but they're like, no, I'm a very good thief. Like,
Yeah.
I'm really good at that.
Yeah.
So it's just so interesting because you get around, even in your case, like just community service, you get around people who are also delinquents. And you're like, yeah, now we have access to all of this shit. It's funny. I've been sober 6 years and I live in New York, but people will still like call me and be like, hey, do you know where I can get this or that? And of course I know where you can, like,
Yeah.
as a recovering addict, like we just know where the spots are. Like, you know, you go to enough meetings and you meet enough people and then some of those people fall off the wagon. It's like, yeah, I got a guy.
Yeah.
So to your point, you're like, oh, we're getting fucked up now.
Yeah, now we're doubling down on these bad friends. But yeah, they have an article online about us that's still out there today.
Hell yeah.
So if
you had an internet presence at 12, baby.
Yes, sir. So the dudes that we all did it, like the 5 or 6 of us, we call ourselves the golf cart bandits.
Yeah.
GCB 4L.
4L.
Some white gang shit right there, guys.
Yeah, anything with 4 life is white gang shit.
Yeah.
So then that's the first time you get arrested. So then fast forward back to where we were, what you were talking about. So you go to Indiana in college.
Chicago.
Or excuse me, you're in Chicago. When was the second arrest, though?
Second arrest was...
I'm sorry, that was in high school.
Yeah, the golf carts was middle school.
Yeah.
And then high school was the weed when we just got the ounce.
Yeah, when you got the ounce and you were smoking and then you got arrested for that. So that's how you kind of got into this world. And if you really think about it, it was the first time getting in trouble. That's what introduced you to all this.
All of it.
So they should have just not given you community service. So the lesson here is don't give kids community service.
100%. And just know that they're 12.
Yeah, they're 12. They're going to do dumb shit. Give them a spank on the butt and send them on their way.
Exactly. So
fast forward now. Now we're in college.
Yeah.
You're selling drugs. You're doing two-a-days. You're doing stand-up.
Yeah.
What gives first? Comedy, football, or selling drugs? Because something's going to have to give eventually.
Yeah.
Or did you do all 3 things all through college?
So I think mentally, football and school went first.
Yeah.
And then physically, dealing drugs went after that.
Yeah.
And then...
So did you play all 4 years? And you were just kind of checked out? Okay.
I played 1 year. And then at the beginning of my second year, I found a way to get out of it.
Okay.
So, yeah, that kind of ties in comedy here. That's why I love comedy so much. It kind of saved my life and kind of put me on the right path.
Yeah.
When I was doing all that in college, I would DM every single headliner coming into Chicago. And I would say, these clubs aren't passing me. Can you give me 5 minutes? Just hear me out.
Damn, that's ballsy.
And, yeah, and I just, just like unaware delusion, confidence that every comic goes through at some stage, and it looks in different ways for everyone. You know? Like you said, when you went to the second open mic and you changed your whole thing.
Yeah, I changed everything to Brennan T. Comedy. Like, we're doing it now.
Like, who am I to be messaging Robert Kelly for a 5-minute, spot?
What are you talking about, dude?
Exactly. And I don't even know.
No, you can't open it for me, dude.
So, that led me to, doing a bunch of spots in Chicago where I was not supposed to be doing them. The clubs hated me for that, for doing the backdoor method of the headliner bringing me in. And then Eric Newman.
So are you still dealing drugs at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. So then, Eric comes in.
So
you knew Eric from Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And once Eric and I had like kind of figured out that he needed some help on the road and I was unhappy where I was at, it was like so clear to me. My girlfriend like just broke up with me too.
Yeah.
And
what year is this happening?
This is happening in 2021.
Okay. So you're actually further into comedy than I thought.
Yeah.
Because you started in 16.
Yeah, I just like when I say like 4.5 years because it's like doing it religiously, kind of thinking about it every day.
And this goes to your point you said earlier about the delusion. I tell everybody I started in 2009 because my first open mic was in 2009.
Okay.
But in all actuality, like I didn't really take it seriously until like 2013. And then when I relapsed in 2015, I didn't touch a stage again for 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's like technically I started, if you want to go by the actual start date, it would probably be 2013. If you want to get real technical about it, it would be 2018 because that's when I like dove headfirst back into comedy.
Yeah.
But I tell everybody 2009 because I was doing those shitty bar shows and those shitty open mics in like 10, 11, 12. Like, I was still doing all that. I was still getting those reps. So I'm like, that doesn't not count. Like, that happened.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, to your point, it's like I didn't treat it like a job. It was just something fun I was doing.
Yeah. This, the way I look at it now.
So you're 8.5 years in.
Kinda. Not really.
If we go by the way I look at it, you're 8 years in.
Indiana, yeah. I mean, like.
But you're right. You're right. It is one of those things where it's like a lot of times people go by, which actually for me would be a lot better. Because if you tell people, I've been doing comedy for 14 years and I'm at the level I'm at, people are like, you must really suck.
Yeah.
But if I tell people, I got back into it in 2018, they're like, oh, that's only been 6 years. So you're actually kind of right where you should be.
Exactly.
So, I guess.
Time, man.
Yeah.
Hey, who gives a fuck?
As Hannibal Burr says, time, right? So then you meet Eric and then you're unsatisfied with the situation you're in.
Yeah. And he gives me a way out, man. So I quit dealing drugs. I remember my dad looking at me before I quit college and before I gave up everything.
Yeah.
He was like...
So are you still in college at this point?
Yeah, so... I never leave... I never walk through a door unless another one's open.
Yeah.
So
you left the team. You figured out a way to get out of the team as a sophomore in college, but you're still at school.
I'm every time the coach wants to take me on a trip, I say I broke my pinky or I can't go on the trip, and I'm making excuses left and right because I'm getting spots at Zany's prime time guest spots, and I'm meeting
from all these comics you're reaching out to.
Right.
Zany's was pissed.
They hated me.
Yeah.
They hated me so much. I remember one of the bookers at the time sat me down and was like, this is not the way to do it, yada, yada, yada.
And you're like, I don't know. I'm getting spots at Zany's, so I think this is kind of the way to do it.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry if I'm cutting the line, but I want to learn faster, you know? Like, and if there's a way to learn faster, sorry.
Why the fuck not?
Yeah, I'm going to do it. So,
God, man, I applaud that ingenuity.
Thanks, man.
And I think that's because we're friends now. Because I know people who've done that. Like when I was coming back into comedy, I was like, "Fuck them."
Yeah.
But now, because we are friends, and because I know how much comedy means to you, I'm like, "Hell yeah, dude."
Yeah.
It's so weird how just that perspective can change.
Yeah, it's like
because if you would have told me this 4 years ago, I'd been like, "Fuck this guy."
Yeah, and like the intention, I just think like over time, like everyone knows I love comedy, and like I'm in it for comedy, so it's like I think if the intention is I was just trying to get better at it, like. Most people will have grace.
They'll be like, "Yeah,
he's a young 20-year-old kid trying to figure it out."
Did it differently, but you still did it right.
Yeah. So
what happens? Eric is like, "Hey, you need to move to New York."
He's like, if you want to like come on the road, open up, like we can work out a deal." And I'm like, "Hell yeah!" So I go back to my apartment in Chicago. My girlfriend's like, "Hey, I think we should talk about things." And I'm like, "Okay." Yada, yada, yada. We break up.
Yep.
I'm like, this is weird that we broke up and I got that opportunity on the same exact day.
That's nuts.
I call my mom and my dad. I'm like, yo, I think I'm going to drop out of college and start doing comedy and just like really go all in with it.
Yeah.
They drove up to Chicago.
How old are you at this point? You're a sophomore, junior?
I'm a sophomore, so I'm like 20.
So this is all happening in the same year.
I'm 20.
Leaving football, all this stuff is happening like around the same time.
Same week.
Damn.
It's all in the same week. I had no time to think.
Yeah.
And it was like do or die.
Yeah.
And it was like so in my face of like, here's an opportunity that you can forever look at as like, oh, what if I did that?
Yeah.
And then you can always go back to school. You hate football. Fuck football.
Yeah.
Fuck selling drugs.
Yeah.
So it's like.
So your parents drive up.
They drive up and they sit down
together.
Like, yeah.
Whew.
And they're divorced.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's a 3-hour drive.
Yeah, that's pulling teeth.
Yeah, that's a 3-hour drive. And
to get your divorced parents to do something together is very difficult.
They're probably tag teaming it. Like, all right, what are you going to say?
What are you going to say? What am I going to say? This is what I'm going to say. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
You're a uniting force.
Yeah, I guess in a way.
In a terrible way.
In a terrible way.
So they drive up there. Are they pissed? Are they excited? Like, what's going through their heads?
They're hesitant, and they were kind of blindsided because they didn't really understand how much I loved comedy. They kind of just looked at it as something I did on the side.
Like a phase, yeah.
Yeah, and like I just like football was my main thing. I had done it since I'd been able to walk. You know, 13 years of playing football. too many concussions.
Too many.
And, you're like, I want to use my head in a different kind of way.
Yeah.
And comedy came a little bit easier to me than the average human being when I went to open mics. Like you have those groups of friends that when you first start.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, why are they doing, like, you're like trying to analyze why you do just like slightly better sometimes, and
yeah, it's interesting. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I say this to a lot of people because some of the stuff I talk about on the surface isn't funny.
Yeah.
But to your point, I go, yeah, but I'm funny.
Yeah.
So I'll make it funny.
Yeah.
And then there's people who we've all met them. We all know who they are. I'm not going to say any names, but because comedy is subjective.
Yeah.
But there are people who genuinely, you're just like, I don't think you're funny.
Yeah.
And they try and they go to mics and maybe they'll get it one day, but sometimes you're just like, I don't think you got it.
I don't think you got it.
I don't think you got it.
I always think about that Louis episode.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I really want to make it. And he's like, you're not going to make it, man.
You're not gonna make it.
Quit. And he's like, I really want to make it. What should I do? And he's like, just do a silly voice or something. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, make a weird sound or something. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
And he just like, that's such the pushover in comedy though, of like, if you aren't funny, yeah, you can go up there and make sounds and be loud.
Yeah, you can just do act outs and all sorts of crazy. And I, preaching the choir, I do a lot of act outs and I can do voices, but I don't do voices. But it's like, I have the talent to do impressions and stuff, but I don't do that. But it is to the point where it's like, yeah, but I know I'm funny.
Yeah.
So like, even if I'm talking about suicide, I'm going to try to make it funny.
Yeah.
Because that's just who I am. And to your point, like, you're like, no, this is what I do. And going to mics and you're like, why am I doing this just that much better than other people? It's like, because you're funny. You've been gifted that.
Yeah, and it's hard to be aware of that and not egotistical in that moment.
It is. And especially when you bomb, like, because when I bomb, sometimes I go, maybe I'm not funny.
Yeah. The mushrooms really helped me through that whole process of like checking my ego at the door whenever I needed, like, or it got out of control. So
I've heard that.
Thank you for the mushrooms.
Yeah, I've heard mushrooms are good that way.
Yeah, man, they really check the ego. But so it all happened in the same day. They come up, they're hesitant. They're like, what? Why? Like, what's your plan? And I was like, I feel like I will regret this if I don't take the opportunity.
Yeah.
And like my whole body's shaking. I feel like I'm like legit, like skin's peeling off my body. Like,
it's a hard conversation to have.
Yeah. And my dad looked at me and he was like, if you need mushrooms to be funny, this isn't your line of work. And I was like, I'm like, no, I don't need them to be funny. They're just
need them.
I just need them to kind of stay alive.
Like
they're so fun, But, my parents, once they understood where I was coming at, of like, I'll regret this. I don't want to regret. Like, I don't want to have a life full of that.
Yeah.
This is my one shot.
You can always go back to, like you said, you can always go back to school. I say it all the time. Moving to New York was one of the hardest things I've done.
Yeah.
Like, just as far as logistics, saving the money, moving the apartment, doing all that shit. But now I'm here. And for the rest of my life, I can say, even if I quit comedy tomorrow, I can always say, yeah, I did stand-up comedy in New York City. Yeah. Like, I've performed at the Cellar. I've performed at the Stand.
It's an achievement, bro.
Yeah, it's like, I've gone across the country and performed at the Store. It's like, I've done it. I've legit done it. Yeah. I did a couple open mics and changed all my social media like I did 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Like, I've legit done shit now. Yeah. So you could never, no matter what happens, and to your point, to what you're talking about, you're like, I'm going to regret it if I don't do this. Yeah. So I'm going to do it.
I had to.
Yeah.
So I tell people all the time, follow what you love, obviously, but what I loved in that moment was just trying to make people laugh. And like, I knew when I had like all these big decisions to make, if I had followed anything like fame, Instagram followers, money, any of that this would be not sustainable and I would flare out. Yeah. So from that moment, it was like really clear to like set the intention of, I'm just a guy that simply enjoys people laughing. Yeah. Like, I just like, and that's it. Yeah. And if you just follow that and you just
the pure intention of it. Yeah.
The pure intention of just like, I just want to make people laugh and be myself through that, in the most organic way. I think you'll have like this limitless life and an abundance mindset of like we were talking about in the hall. Everything is funny when you have your voice attached to it. And
it's a very telling thing, because people ask me, because like I don't have a lot of followers. I don't have this huge career. We were talking about it outside before we got on the mics, but it's like, I treat this like sports a lot, where I'm like, no, like I'm good at this, so people will just reach out to me, and that's not how it works. Like you have to reach out to other people, and that's something I need to get better at. But that was never my intention from the jump. It was never, fame and money. I talk about comedy because, like I said, I've been in it and around it for so long. Like everyone else I know that's been in it and around it as long as I have talks about comedy.
Yeah.
And they've got hundreds of thousands of followers, and they tour all over the country, and they're much bigger than I am. But it's still like, no, I've done the shitty shows. I've done the bar shows. I've done the shows where nobody listens. I've done the shows where they won't turn off the fucking Oklahoma City Thunder game in Oklahoma City while you're trying to do a set. Like I've done all that shit.
No.
So I still talk about comedy in that context, because for me, it's so interesting. People will be like, well, what do you know? Like you only have 2,000 followers. What do you know? And it's like, yeah, but I know a lot about like just comedy.
Yeah.
Like in this whole idea of because it was never, I need to get the most followers. It was never, I need to be rich. Sometimes when my parents, my dad my dad mainly, because he's very caring and he wants to know. He loves the fact that I'm doing stand up, but he does want to kind of be like, sometimes he'll be like, hey, like what's your like goal? Like what are you looking for?
Yeah.
And I say the same thing to anybody who will ask, is if I could just supplement my income doing podcasting and stand up, I'm fine with that. And I don't make a ton of money.
Yeah.
But if I could just replace paying my rent by working at the restaurant with paying my rent through stand-up or podcasting, dude, I'm good with that. Like that to me would be the ultimate victory.
Yeah.
I don't care about cars and money and like follow. Like I don't care. I just, to your point, I just want to make people laugh.
Yeah.
And I do it in a way like mine's a little more obscure than that. Like I want to make people laugh at terrible times because I've gone through so many.
Yeah.
That it's like my comedy's for those people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like when it boils all down, we just want to make people laugh.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not for everybody, but like the people it's for, it's really for.
Yeah. I think it's powerful to follow something like just creating an emotion.
Yeah.
Because like it's stripped away of all the tangible things that get.
Yeah, we use words.
Yeah.
We use words to elicit a response.
Yeah.
And we're getting pretty good at it.
Hopefully one day everyone will see how good we get at it.
Right?
But dude, it's like, I think just like having that and like that clear intention from that moment with my parents of like, I can't follow anything else, but just like that joy that it gives me when, you get off the stage and that you added to the lineup,
Oh,
that,
fuck yeah, man.
The feeling of like, all right, I didn't kill, but I kept it going.
Yeah. Or even sometimes it's my favorite when you do some of these like showcasey kind of shows, because in New York it's all showcase kind of stuff. So when you do some of those shows and they'll be like, all right, this is the lineup, but then like a comic goes up and doesn't do great, and then another comic goes up and doesn't do great, and the feeling, it's that same competitive juice when the booker or the host will come up to you and go, hey, actually, we're going to put you next because we need to get this back on track. You're like, let's fucking go, dog.
Dude, those moments.
Here I come to wreck the day.
Yeah. So I used to work at Caroline's.
Okay.
And
R.I.P.
And they would have these long showcase shows. And sometimes the booker would be like, yeah, stick around. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
If we can throw you on. And the host goes on, does well. They bring out a cisgender white guy that's just boring as boring can be.
Yeah.
And I remember the booker coming up to me and being like, hey, you're on next. And I was
Let's fucking go.
And I was like, all right, I guess I'm that guy.
I guess I'm saving it, baby.
I guess I'm that guy today. So, and it was beautiful because you get up there with like already a different confidence, already this different motive, this like, I know you guys hated that last guy. I look the exact same, but
watch this.
But watch this.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is It is, because I've been the boring white guy.
Yeah.
I've been the boring white guy, and then some other dude comes on and murders. But it's that first person up there. It's like, this is all material.
Yep.
This is all material. And it's like, if you strip it down to like, oh, it's a private gig almost, like, all right, the first guy, he's talking about fortune cookies. They like fortune cookie jokes. And that
I
shit,
do that so
know?
often, where I show up to shows a lot of times just to hear what the other comics are talking about, to be like, all right, let's lean into this, stay away from that.
Yeah. That's the only time I'll listen before I'm going on.
Yeah.
Is when I'm like trying to see, like, do they like dark or do they not like dark, or do they?
Because the problem with dark, and take it from me as someone who's seen as a darker comic, the problem with dark is that you can ask them and everybody's on board. Everybody's like, yeah, we love dark comedy.
Yeah.
Woo! And then you do one joke about suicide and it gets real quiet real fast. And you go, guys, I thought we were all on the same page here. I fucking asked you.
Yeah.
I asked you and you said yes.
Yeah.
And then I tell a joke about someone overdosing on heroin.
Yeah.
And, can I put her nudie picture she sent me up on OnlyFans? And everyone got real quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm like, I just think the showcase lineups in New York, they teach you how to, rebuild a room if someone bombs before you.
Yeah.
There's all those different kind of tricks that you learn when you get here.
It's like your fucking SAT tutor all over again.
It is.
It's all about hacking the system.
It is.
Like, even if you're a high energy comic, if the person in front of you is high energy and they crush, don't try to meet them at their energy.
No,
you got to go up low. You have to, because if you try to meet them at their energy, I fucking learned that the hard way. I followed Josh Adam Myers and I was like, he's high energy. I'll be high energy. And I fucking bombed, dude. And I should have gone up there low and then built back up to it. Yeah. But I went up there trying to match it. And it's like, no, you don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows. And if someone's low energy, go up with high energy. Like, you need to, it's all about attention spans and keeping people's focus and stuff like that. Sometimes whisper instead of yell.
Yeah.
A lot of times I get real loud on the mic, but I've had people in the past be like, hey, if you whispered that,
yeah,
people are forced to like lean in and like really hear, and the punchline hits harder. And it does.
Yeah.
There's all these little hacks you can do with this kind of stuff.
Now, I followed Josh Adam Myers once at West Side.
How'd it go?
Dude, he's, rocking the whole room. He's got the whole room going. And what I did was I went up and I was unapologetically myself.
Yep.
And I was like, hey, guys, wasabi, how we doing? The normal thing. I'm going to set you down to my tone. And then I started to get into one of my jokes. And in the middle of it, I just stopped. And I think he was making fun of some dude with a purple hat. He was like, purple hat, man, or like doing some kind of thing. And right before, I just like had this gut instinct of being like, just like cleanse the room, like say that, do that, so they know that you heard that and that they
know what's going on.
That that I witnessed what it went through, what the room went through, and I don't know if a comic would be like, oh, that's stealing or like that's hacky to do that, but I just simply was just like, purple hat man, what's up, and just made the language that they had all heard before. Yeah. Into my own.
It's a fucking callback. It's like I don't think it's hacky at all. I think it's a callback in the most natural form of a callback.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Being like, hey, you guys were all just laughing about this.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're into a bit and then you're like, fucking purple hat, man.
Purple
What's
hat,
up, dude?
man, dude.
Because I've done that before too, where like you're on a show and like, you get there a little early and then you catch a comic talking to like doing crowd work.
Yeah.
And you don't even think twice about it, but it's in your psyche now. And then you go up and like all of a sudden you see them and you go, damn, you really are jacked, or damn, you really do look goofy, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the whole audience is like, so you were here too. Like, you've been paying attention too.
Yeah.
They love that.
They really
Most audiences like that because they feel like, oh, now we're all in on the joke.
Yeah.
So I think that's totally fair.
All right. It was hard to follow them though.
Yeah,
like,
dude,
to your point.
I wanted to ask you, because you did send me a couple of stories.
Yeah.
The Indy 500.
Okay.
So how old are you when this happens?
I am 15.
Okay.
Okay.
So a few years after the parents' divorce. This is after the golf cart incident.
Yeah. I'm hanging out with the same dudes that we were doing the golf cart stuff with. So
is there anybody new in the golf cart bandit gang that you met at like community service or anything like that?
We didn't bring anyone in.
Nobody came in.
No one came in.
This is a close-knit family.
But, we used them for resources and stuff. But, dude, like, have you ever been to Indy 500?
No.
Okay.
I'm from Daytona, so I've been to the Daytona 500.
Hey, that's really cool, too.
Yeah.
So, like...
I've never actually been to the actual race, but I've been to the stadium. You know what I miss.
Yeah. Dude, when it's playing on the TV, I think last time it was playing, I was in a hotel, and I just, like, fell asleep. I love hearing the zoom, zoom, zoom. It puts me to sleep. Anyway, the Indy 500, big racetrack. In the middle of it is called the Snake Pit, and it's an EDM concert that starts at 6 a.m.
So 6 in the morning.
6 in the morning. People tent in the infield of this racetrack.
So hang on, I just want because this you grew up around this because you're from Indiana, but just so the listeners and I can kind of get a grasp of this, the middle of Indiana,
right?
The Indy 500, which is a big race, it's Formula One, it's like one of the biggest things. There is an EDM concert happening at 6 a.m.
in the middle
of the infield.
I
don't see when I think Indiana, I don't think.
Yeah, I think it was like. I don't know. It's not always been EDM.
Yeah,
I think it's transitioned to EDM because, like, back in the day, the Indy 500, they would have bands in the middle and the infield and stuff like that.
So it turned into this concert kind of venue.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's called the Snake Pit.
The Snake Pit. You got to have a wristband to get into the Snake Pit.
Yeah.
The boys, we always trying to finesse the system. We're not buying no wristband.
No.
So.
Well, and also you're not of age.
No, we can't go in.
You're 15.
Yeah, we're 15. I forgot about that too. Yeah,
we're not buying no wristband. They're not selling you a wristband, I think is what you meant to say.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to. We didn't have the fake ID yet. But yeah, so we get to the race. We go to the stands.
How do you get there?
Our families will all go tailgate.
Okay, so it's like a tradition. Like
yeah,
everybody goes, and then you just meet up with your delinquent friends.
Exactly.
Excuse me. The what is it? GCB.
4L.
4L.
Golf cart bandits for life.
So you just meet up with the GCB 4L.
Yeah, and then at the GCB 4L meetup, we're like, all right, how do we get into this joint? And we see a bunch of porta potties lined up next to the barbed wire fence, and my buddy was like, if we just climb on top of the porta potty, we just have to like do like a skipping stone, like kind of diagonal. We have to jump one porta potty to the next.
Yeah.
And once you cleared like the third porta potty, you could just drop down and you were in.
Okay.
You were in the snake pit.
Yeah.
So we're like, hell yeah.
Easy fucking peasy.
Easy peasy. First dude goes up, bing, 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 in.
Drops in.
Sweet. Second dude, bing, bing, bing. What?
Is nobody seeing you guys on top of porta potties?
Third dude.
Great comedic timing to play that.
And dude goes, hey, quit doing that. He calls all of his buddies. So there's like
security everywhere.
6 cops, like kind of like
cops or security?
Security.
Okay.
You don't have a gun, you know.
Yeah.
They're just like the vest and everything.
Yeah, I got you.
So they're all coming after us, and
so now are the guys that are already inside the snake pit? Are they made? Like they're
in. They're in.
Okay, so they kind of just disappear into the.
Yeah, once you drop down, they can't get you.
Yeah, you just disappear into the thing.
Yeah, so these security guys are like in the porta potty section, like alligators trying to get like chicken, you know?
Who's up at the top?
We're skipping on top of
so everyone's on a different porta potty.
Yes.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Trying to skip.
Yeah.
So
they're just
Exactly. So the third dude goes, fourth dude, when he's skipping, he does 1, 2, and on the third one, there was mud on the porta potty. Slips, eats total shit.
Ends up on the ground.
All the security guys jump on him, swarm him and shit like that. And then
God, this reminds me of like Indiana Jones, where you're like hanging on to the you're like, no, don't let him take me.
Yeah. And then everyone after that was good.
Okay. So you made it in.
We made it in. And the dude who didn't make it in, he was like he was kind of on the outside a little bit.
Yeah, he's not a core guy.
Nah, he wasn't cool enough to make it in, you know? We're like, fucking.
The cool gods have chosen.
Exactly.
And you are out, my
You're
friend.
not cool, dude. That
Yeah.
mud, you should have known there was mud there, not
If
slipped on
everyone else
the mud.
made it over the fence and this guy didn't, obviously he wasn't cool enough to be there.
He's the grunt, right? Or
Yeah,
the runt?
Runt, yeah.
Runt. The grunt.
Well, he's also the grunt because he got taken down.
Yeah.
So what happens inside the snake pit? Are you guys able to get like drinks and stuff?
So.
Because you don't have wristbands.
Yeah, so dude, it's like, so my brother and all his older friends. I have an older brother. He's like 3 years older than me. So all his friends were there, you know, and like.
So it's 18 to get into the snake pit?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah, because if they're all there, then yeah.
And you know, so you see someone that you know just from town, and they got a 40 ounce, and then they'll pass it to you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and it was like super cool. A lot of my friends did Molly. I didn't do Molly there. I did Molly at the Lollapalooza.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that.
Story.
We're gonna talk about that next.
That's a different story, but yeah, the Indy 500 snake pit.
So what ends up happening? Are you just partying with all your friends?
We're partying with all of our friends. So it's like a mud, because it's since 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So the dew,
just beaten into the ground.
So it's basically a bunch of pigs rolling around in a mud while Shaq's DJing.
Oh, that's the video we've all seen of Shaq doing the thing.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So like it's insane.
Also, that is how Zach, who is from Indiana, described Indiana people: pigs rolling around in mud. I didn't say that; he said that.
All right. Well, I was one of the pigs. Yo.
Yeah.
I was dirty in the mud too, and I still am a pig, bro. Like,
let's go.
I'll roll around the snake pit mud all the time, every day, all day, anywhere. But dude.
So did you end up getting fucked up?
Yeah, we got fucked up. We then stumbled back to our parents' tailgate.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
You eventually have to face the music.
Yeah, and I don't. They're like, "Where did you guys go?" And we're like covered in mud, and we're like, "Not the snake pit."
You're not gonna believe this,
Mom. And then
I fell off a porta potty.
Yeah, the end of that story is one of my friends' dads drove us home, and he was so drunk he would like fall asleep at like the lights and shit.
Drive. Oh my god.
Yeah, and it was like one of those moments where I was like, fuck, I wish my dad was driving me drunk home. You know? Like,
I don't want to die with this guy.
Yeah, some random dad driving me drunk home. I'd rather go down with my own dad. You know?
If we're going down, let's do it together.
Yeah.
So your parents, were they, I'm take it they weren't like super strict. If like you're showing up and you're like, hey guys, and they're like, get in the fucking car.
Yeah, I mean, when they got divorced, a lot of the times they'd be separate.
Yeah, that's true too.
You know, like they also like to drink and they also like to party. So
they were fine.
Yeah, they were fine.
You're here now. Look at you. You're successful. You're doing it.
I'm doing the thing, man.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. You mentioned it. Lollapalooza.
Where
is this at?
Chicago.
It's in Chicago?
It's in Chicago.
Okay.
So I'm working at Chicago's comedy bar at the time, and I'm serving.
How old are you at this point?
19.
Okay, so you're in college.
And it's the summer in between freshman and sophomore year.
Yeah, so not playing. The football's not going on at the time.
I'm in the city.
You're in the city doing stand-up.
Selling drugs. Every single night, this club, if I like worked for them, they would throw me up at the end of the night. So I'm like, hell yeah,
getting that
bro.
last spot.
Yeah, exactly.
1:30 a.m.
Exactly.
Just ripping. Let's go.
Ripping in front of 4 people from Belgium.
Who gives a shit, man? We're in Chicago. You're doing stand-up in Chicago. I don't give a fuck.
Exactly.
It could be the booker sitting in the back of the room getting drunk. I'm doing stand-up in Chicago. Let's go.
Yeah, man. So I remember I got off work. I went to Lollapalooza.
Explain, because I'm not familiar with Lollapalooza, and I maybe our listeners are, maybe they aren't. So it's just a giant music festival, right?
It's a giant music festival that has like, I believe it's like 4 stages.
Okay, and it goes for like a whole weekend or a week or
4 days.
4 days. Okay.
4 days.
So you get off work and you go to Lolla. Is this the first night, the second night? Like, what's happening?
I believe it's the second night.
Okay, so you know what's going on. Do you have to get a ticket? Like, how does that work?
There was a dude outside.
Let me rephrase that. Do most people have to get a ticket? Because if we've learned anything from Zac Gish, it's I'm not getting a ticket.
Most people have to get a ticket. There was a dude walking out, and he just like
popped his band.
Popped his band. I popped mine.
You are the fucking Peter Pan of getting into places, man.
Skis, man. Just skis the way in. Skis in. So I get in. I meet up with all my friends. Most of them are like whacked out, but there was this one dude that he was like, oh my God, we need to stay together the rest of the night. Just you and I, we're going out, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I hadn't seen him for like maybe like a year or two.
Okay, so this is a buddy from high school?
Yeah.
You hadn't seen in a while or something?
Yeah. And it was like cool to reconnect with him.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, let's do something. Let's get some drugs. And I'm
Let's
like,
fucking-
you know me. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So I'm holding up like the word Molly on my phone.
Yeah.
And I'm just like displaying it to everyone at Lollapalooza. And
getting drugs is so much different than when I was a youth.
yeah, wait, how did you do it?
You used to just have to ask.
Oh, yeah, that's so different.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's the same, but it's definitely there's a lot more vulnerability. Like you just holding up your phone and it says Molly, like you can kind of disassociate from that.
Yeah.
There's a lot more vulnerability being hammered in South Florida, stumbling out of a bar, going up to like sketchy looking people, like, "Hey, do you have any cocaine? Do you know where I can get some cocaine?"
Oh, that creeps
Hey,
me
yeah,
out,
dude,
bro.
it's skeevy. I've gotten in a lot of trouble doing that. You go up to the wrong person because you think they look like a skeeve ball, but they look like a skeeve ball on purpose because it's a cop.
Ah, the undercover.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
man. So you're just holding up the phone and it just says Molly.
And the dude with the smiley hat,
It's always the smiley face.
bucket hat.
Yep.
And he's like, hey.
It's like their uniform, man.
He's like, hey, man.
I noticed your cell phone.
Yeah. He's like, here's 4 of these, $80. We hand him the $80. And my buddy and I.
Does he say 4 of these?
4 of these.
So you don't know what they are.
No clue. Here's 4 of these.
Let's go.
$80. And my buddy and I, we both take one and we hold on to the other one. And like we're like 15 minutes later, we're like, I don't feel anything. So we take another. Turns out ketamine. 8 points of ketamine to the system.
Oh my God, that's so much ketamine.
Can't feel my legs for 72 hours.
So what happens?
From Lollapalooza, Alice in
When
Wonderland.
it hits you, like what happens?
So there's this beautiful artist. Of course she's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Alice in Wonderland. She's EDM and I got just like hypnotized by her music and I'm just like my jaw is chattering at like an uncontrollable speed. I'm just feeling like I want to like start walking on all fours. Like
Yeah.
I'm feeling very primal, like very like not human, very animal shit. Like anything I can put into my mouth and start chewing on, I just want to chew and rip things, you know, like it was very, very unsettling.
Sounds like it.
And we talk about skeezing into places. We get invited to this after Lollapalooza.
Why wouldn't you? High on ketamine, just chomping at shit. Why wouldn't you get invited to an after party?
And we get in.
How are you? But I'm curious as to how you're even mobile at this point.
My buddy and I were just like partners. We're like,
No, but how are you even like physically? How are you walking? Has it not hit you fully yet?
it's hit me fully, but my eyes are like the size of moons.
Yeah.
And like,
But your body's still operating. Like you can still walk. You're still moving.
I can't feel it though.
Yeah. Okay, that's what you said. You said you couldn't feel. Okay.
Couldn't feel my bottom half of my body.
But you're still operating. You're
I'm still
moving.
operating.
Okay, got it.
So like when you can't feel
I
it.
thought your buddy was like dragging you to this after party.
No.
I was like, that'd be a big red flag.
No, I'm like, dude, we got to go to this.
Yeah, of course.
This thing could change our life. He's a DJ. So I'm like, bro, like, once we get in there, like, just give me a couple seconds and
We'll get you on the ones and twos.
You're going to be
Yeah.
up there, dude. Like, trust me. And this is like a nightclub in Chicago. You know, like the really professional bouncers outside, like, don't take no shit.
Yeah, yeah.
We walk up there.
This is what they do.
And they're just like IDs, and we're like, we show it to them. A dude comes over, whispers to him. We get into the club. That dude that was whispering to him was like, you guys follow me. We go up to this side room
Damn.
where it's like a private party, and drinks are all free. We're like, if you want to go up to the DJ and talk to him, like you could legit go up to the DJ and talk to him.
Wow.
And like you're so close. It's very intimate. Very intimate. Next thing you know, I'm talking to a security guy, to talk to a manager, to talk to the DJ booker, to introduce my DJ friend
Yeah.
to the DJ booker at this nightclub, all high as fuck on ketamine. And my friend that is a DJ, like hardly DJs, you know?
Yeah.
And like he was just like amazed that I could even like.
So did they end up talking to him?
Yeah, I got his
Damn.
number. I got
Damn.
the dude's number. And you know, like I remember telling that dude, I was like, bro, like this is the universe. Like we can go anywhere and just talk to anyone and just like
You're
just
so fucked up
just-
on ketamine.
just dude, like the sky's the like we can do whatever
The
we
ceiling
want.
is the roof.
Exactly. Up is down, down is up. It doesn't
Black is
matter.
white. Who cares?
It doesn't matter, man. We just we got to keep doing this. And he went back to Indiana the next day, called me 2 days later and was like, "Does your body feel okay?" And I'm like, "Not at all."
Yeah, so take because we've got a couple minutes left. Take us through that. So you leave the after party, you go back to your apartment in Chicago.
Yeah.
When you wake up the next day, are you like, fuck?
Yeah, I called my brother and I'm like trying to explain to him all the feelings that I'm
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah, because he's older, so he's probably like, God damn it, Zach.
Yeah, he's like, "Bro, you could have taken meth. Like
Yeah.
you could have taken anything."
Fun fact, the person who was on just last week, Drew Lausch, told a story about how when he was at a club, they were like, oh, it's Molly, but there's a little meth in it. Turns out it was mostly meth with a little bit of Molly. Like, you never know what you're going to get.
Dude, so
Damn!
my brother was just like, "You're an idiot.
Coaching you through it, though? You're just
Yeah.
kind of like, you're going to be fine. Don't worry about it.
You'll be fine. You'll make it out alive. You'll
Yeah.
come out on the other side." And there wasn't a whole lot of mental stuff that was attached to it, which I was thankful.
Yeah.
Like people talk about K-holing and shit like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And like sometimes I go back and forth on like how I was dealing with it in that moment, and if it was a K-hole, I'm not too sure, and
Yeah.
I'm not too curious to
Yeah,
try.
you don't even.
Yeah, I'm
You're
like,
going to stick with your mushrooms.
stick with the mushrooms, do my weed, and drink wine occasionally.
There you go.
Yeah.
Dude, this was so much fun.
Thanks for having me.
Of
on,
course.
man.
Plug everything one more time. Social media, the whole deal.
At Zac Gish, ZACGISH. With Zac Gish, UHHH. And yeah, man. Like I said, I'll be in Arizona in the end of May. I'll be in Queens in the beginning of June, and then Nashville in September.
Beautiful. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. At Brennan T. Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com. Check out the one-man show, Ex-Drinking Buddy, a comics look at life, near-death, recovery, and redemption. And get your merch at the merch store. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Yo.